night reaction live stream as the Knicks win earlier today at the Garden against Orlando, and they moved to 16-7 on the season. Man, what a start to the season it's been so far. We've got a lot to break down, but obviously, first and foremost, man, happy holidays to everyone out here. Hope everyone is doing well. As coming to you from location undisclosed, but our New York Knicks pull off a big win. I think they bounce back in a major way against Orlando, a team that has given them, some issues with the physicality. And I think the Knicks really stepped it up earlier today. But of course, we've had a massive news drop in the last couple of hours, a report from Stein Line, Jake Fisher, and talking about Giannis only wants the Knicks above all else. Nicholas, salute, let's go. Welcome in, everyone. Hope you've had a great weekend, man. Football, man, it's been a crazy football season, but the NBA season is heating up, man. I really like what the Knicks showed us today. Obviously winning 106-100. No Cat, but Deuce McBride got banged up, unfortunately. So he had an X-ray earlier. X-rays came back negative, but he's going to have an MRI tomorrow. So prayers up. Hopefully Deuce won't miss any time. Look, I do think Cat probably sat out today, ready for the big NBA Cup quarterfinals against the Raptors, man, on the road. That's going to be crazy. Salute to Mario. Let's go. So Huck Porty got the start, man. How did y'all feel about Huck Porty's performance? Man, he played a great game. Probably his best game as a New York Knick, stepping in. Mitch was a killer on the rebounds. Josh Hart with the double-double. And JB with 30 points and 9 assists. We matched their physical play. Hate those reckless Magic. What did I say recently, man? I said, they're young, they're immature, they're a little bit reckless. That's the best way to beat the Magic. But also when a guy like Paolo Banchero comes back, you kind of see, that is maybe one of the examples of a Ewing theory, man. Shout out Buzzer Beater. A lot of us talked about the Ewing theory, but Franz Wagner, look, it wasn't a dirty play. Huck Porty, man, he just goes 100%, all game long. And I do think, obviously, Magic fans, they're crying out dirty play. They're crying out that he, was reckless. But look, what about Wendell Carter, setting that, pick, the illegal pick on Landry Shamet, man? I mean, these two teams, they're really starting to develop a dislike for each other, getting after it. But yeah, like you guys said, we matched their physical play. That was the biggest thing. But Huck Porty hitting all 4 free throws really gave us the impetus to close it out late. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson struggling with free throws. It's great to see another Knicks young big, be able to knock down those free throws. But obviously, guys, you may not have seen, but the Stein Line, Jake Fisher, has reported now within the last hour or two that Giannis Antetokounmpo, people around the league, right, the expectation is that he is wanting the Knicks above all else, man. And also, he's a major fan of the Knicks fan base and the look outside Madison Square Garden, after the big wins, celebrating the party atmosphere, just like the European game in basketball, soccer as well. So Giannis has an appreciation for that. And obviously, this noise is not going away. Another major report, but this time putting the Knicks above all else. So is Giannis really going to force the issue? Look, my stance hasn't changed. I do think that the New York Knicks need to wait until the summer. And, if Giannis is really hell-bent on coming to us, then I do think he probably needs to wait it out as well. Chance says would love to see Huck become a regular rotation piece. Look, feather in the cap to Mike Brown, the coaching staff as well, fam. Tyler Kolek's getting major minutes. But also you see Huck Porty, do we have a baby Mitch who's able to step in now, a real backup? Huck Porty with 6 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, won the defensive player of the game with the Tims, the hard hat, and the vest. Man, that's Huck Porty right there, 23 years old. I really like the way he was running the floor, fam. Michael says we keep winning like this, we'll get the number 1 seed. So we're 2 games off Detroit, right? Second, and obviously a major story out of today, guys. 13-1, man, the best start since 92, 93, man. When I was a young kid and starting to root for this team, obviously Ewing Starks, the NBA Finals trip, man, that's a big start to our season so far. Long way to go. But obviously, is this outside noise going to be a distraction? Right? I don't think so. I think these guys are fully locked in. And look, whilst I haven't heard anything concrete, I do think in his heart, Leon Rose would lean towards letting this rock out as is for this season, right? If the Giannis thing was really to be forced, I think he's going to put together an offer. But I think in his heart, he would prefer to wait to the summer and let this thing rock out. I mean, he got Cat. Cat is his guy. A big shake-up in season. I'm not a big fan of it, especially when, we're in this situation now where, we are, one of the favorites to get through the East. But look, guys, big game coming up next. The Raptors. It's going to be a playoff type, atmosphere. We know the Raptors fans really get after it, man. And that's going to be fun. I think Cat was rested today. I do think he'll probably come back into the lineup. And obviously Mitchell Robinson off the bench. Does Huck Porty become situational? We've got to wait and find out. But look, what Huck showed us today, with his rebounding, his putback, getting OG back was big time as well. 100%, like you said. OG with 21 points today, getting him back was big time. I think they wanted to get him 1 game back before this Magic game today, and you saw the difference that OG made, man. His physicality. Look, 2 huge plays, swing plays today. Josh Hart stealing the lunch of Anthony Black, and OG Anunoby as well, reaching in and stripping Anthony Black. Anthony Black's been a terror recently, and he was really pushing the break. And credit to the Knicks. They're able to stop the penetration. They're able to get out in front and get those steals as well. Huck Porty with the 3 blocks was big time too. Look, Desmond Bane, I don't think it was a dirty play, but look, actually there was one dirty play, which I'm going to hit on, but the Deuce McBride one, where Desmond Bane was late to contest, it fell down on Deuce McBride. And look, X-rays negative, prayers up to Deuce. We are going to get more news tomorrow with the MRI. But look, with the second one, Desmond Bane, man, losing his cool, throwing the ball at OG Anunoby, like y'all said. He lost his cool with that one, and OG frustrating him. We got to keep it up. Got to keep this physicality up too. I really like what Mike Brown's given us, with the rotation players, getting an opportunity, stepping it up. Best start since 92, 93. Shout out to the crowd, the Garden atmosphere as well. Detroit, Toronto, we're coming. Miami Heat, we're coming. And obviously a player like Giannis, has got his ears and eyes perked up with our current situation right now. Look, JB going under the radar, 30 points, 9 assists today. He was absolutely phenomenal, dealing with the contact as well. Now, credit to Mike Brown for clearing the bench just in case of an injury, but they weren't able to close it out with those guys, man. Josh Hart had to come back in. But look, I ain't mad at Mike Brown because there was 2-3 minutes remaining. He cleared the bench. It was under 10, though. That's something that Thibodeau wouldn't have done. But, yeah, Mike Brown cleared the bench just in case, because we know things can happen. JB hurt himself against the Magic last game. But, yeah, Kolek and the Magic never say quit. They got a couple of stops. They blitzed. And the starters had to come back in, though, and close it out as well. Chris Gotti, salute. Jose G, salute. Chemistry continuity is important. I'm sorry, Streets. Michael says, I don't want Giannis. Now, just clarify. You don't want Giannis long term, or you don't want Giannis to the move to happen right now? I do, see some people questioning the Giannis fit, overall, because, he's going to take the ball away from some of the other guys. He ain't like a deadly shooter as well, but he's dominant in the post, dominant in transition, another defender as well. Obviously the math got to work as well, but Leon Rose, Brock Aller, I think they can pull out a masterclass. Maybe they could keep OG and Mikal Bridges out of the deal. It might have to be Deuce McBride and Cat, but if you can keep Wingstop out of the deal together with Giannis, we would have a shot at being the best defensive team in the league with those three guys, fam. That's defensive chemistry. Yeah, a win is a win. Hart as a starter has been amazing for us. Yeah, renaissance. Josh Hart, obviously I think his body's healed up from last season in the summer as well. The hand, the finger was banged up. But yeah, he's coming real good. Yeah, Huck needs more minutes, 110%. Look, Kolek's getting minutes, Huck's getting minutes. Shout out to the second round drafting of the New York Knicks together with Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson. We've got to start hitting on these first rounders though, fam. Don't forget, we have a first round pick coming up this season, guys. Who knows if we are going to roster that player. Maybe we select a player for another team and make that big trade on draft night. But I do think probably Pacome Dardier will need to make way if they do make a draft pick because of the roster crunch right now. Yeah, like I said, Michael, I really think in Leon's heart, he wants to leave this team be and make a run. Cat's his guy. He represented Cat as well. I'm in the streets, fam. Jose G, yeah. Location undisclosed. Doing some traveling on the holiday season, fam, but you had to get my recap reaction in. I'm glad I did, fam. I'll repeat again, there is a big update on the Giannis situation in the last 2 hours. Jake Fisher of the Stein Line is reporting that around the league, there is a realization that Giannis is wanting the Knicks above all teams right now. He's a major fan of the Knicks Streets buzz and the city outside Madison Square Garden, man. It's a party atmosphere like European soccer, football, the baseball, the basketball vibe. It's happening as well. So you heard it here, fam. It is a subscription update on the Stein Line, but it's out there now. Giannis wanting the Knicks above all teams, fam. Look, if you saw him and his bro at Madison Square Garden after the Knicks game, man, there was a lot of love, a lot of hugs, daps had up with JB and the rest of the team. And look, yeah, I'm half Greek. I'm half Greek as well, fam. My mother's Greek. And so, yeah, I'm all about it, man. A big fan of Giannis, but I love this team too, man. I'll be cool either way. It's just, I'm kind of, it's bittersweet, because we've had a team, guys, for so long where it's like, we were hoping for a star. We're hoping for an all-star, a superstar. We got a couple. We got JB. We got Cat. And it's like, whoa, another superstar wants to come. An MVP, a former champion wants to come. So, but look, Leon Rose in 5 years has really turned this thing around from the Fizdale, David, Steve Mills, Phil Jackson era, man. And look, you got to give Dolan credit for staying out of the way too. Yeah, happy holidays to you, fam. Everyone out here, stay safe, stay blessed. Johnny Cheeba's in the house, salute. Yeah, he has really turned it around, fam. Look at the baseball situation. Look at the football situation in New York. I think the Knicks, man, they're flying the flag right now in the major way. Brooklyn in the dumps. Brooklyn Nets. Who could forget they had Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant? I mean, we might not be, ever get to that level in terms of roster, but I think we're gonna have a better chance. We'll give up a whole G League for Giannis too. Look, Giannis is a smart guy, man. He's 31. He wants to make the most of the rest of his playing career, but he wants to be in a winning situation. And look, I think the Heat could put together a good package, but I don't think they're going to be as competitive as the New York Knicks would be, fam. Look, who's he going to play with if they trade Khalil Ware, Tyler Hero, and Harquez or Wiggins? What's he going to do? Pair up with Bam, Davion Mitchell, Norm Powell? You're trying to tell me that's better than with Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride? That ain't better. That's if he comes. We're a long way from the Marty Collins days, fam. Ron Baker, shot maker as well, fam. Norvell Pell. We've got Huck Porty now. Yeah, the New York sports teams are a joke right now, man. Outside of the Yankees and Mets. Johnny Chiba, CT, what would you get if Huck Porty got consistent big minutes? A block party. I like that. A block party. That's what Giannis apparently wants to join. Huck Porty is a German. We've got the international flavor with the French connection as well. Michael Urey also says, I do not mind Giannis on the Knicks. I would love him on the Knicks, right? If they don't make it to the finals, get Giannis, right? But we can win with Cat as well. With the super chat, appreciate y'all buzzing tonight, man, on a late night Sunday stream. We've got the Knicks family in the building, hitting that like button. David says trade the Westchester Knicks. Huck Porty's growing, man. He looks more confident too. Shout out to the coaching staff and the veterans in that locker room too. Look, there's one negative I want to touch on, which is Jordan Clarkson, man. Leon Rose, outside of Giannis, let's talk about the bench too. But yeah, 100% like Michael said, I'd be okay letting this team rock out for the playoffs and then look at Giannis too. But look, Giannis has got that itch, man. He might want to, be part of this thing for this season and, and go for it. And he won't want to miss out, man. How would y'all feel if we got Miles Turner as well as a potential? The way Mikal Bridges is playing, man, is phenomenal. Stuffing the stat sheet today with rebounds, assists, points as well. He had a really solid game. But the 21 points from OG in the second game back is a great sign to see. I could see that Knicks going that 10-man, says Michael. Yeah, look, Mike Brown's smart. The collaboration has been on point. Best start since 92. Let's go to the big dance, baby. Let's hang a few banners. And we've got to win this NBA Cup first and foremost, fam. There's a raucous crowd in Toronto waiting for the Knicks when they get there. That's going to be a playoff kind of test. Ursanification, salute, says CT, do you see Brown extending that rotation to 10 consistently in the next few weeks with Huck Kolek helping, Yabu showing signs of life? It's possible. Yeah, I do think Mike Brown's a guy, we got to look at it like this. He looks at matchups. I don't think he's as rigid as Tibbs in terms of he's not going to be set on okay, Huck, you're going to play every game. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that. But what he is going to be open to doing is, going matchup versus matchup, which I like. Look at that Rick Carlisle matchup against Indiana in the playoffs. Thibodeau was kind of slow making that adjustment, putting Mitch in there and playing Shamet, playing DeLon Wright. I think Mike Brown's just going to be open from the get-go to match up according to the opponent. Look, Huck Porty gives us another look. He's got that vertical move down pat. He goes straight up now. And the free throws, man, he really surprised me today. Hitting nothing but net. To Jose G's, his first stop. Let's do that Vegas stop, man. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But hopefully they come out with a ring, fam. And $500,000. as well. These guys are hungry. 500 grand for Christmas. Man, everyone's going to be locked in. Extra Christmas presents for the kids. Yet Chancellor says, I think Leon's done well, but remains to be seen if he can improve the bench enough between Yabu and Clark. And he had limited resources, but it's too bad we didn't get Keyshawn George. Yeah, I liked him coming out of the draft too. There was a couple of guys, but look, I'm happy with the guys we have. Pacome Dardier might be another miss. But yeah, let's talk about that bench, like you said. The negative I wanted to touch on was, Jordan Clarkson, man. He's up, he's down, he's all around. And also, so is Gershon Yabusele. I do believe Yabusele can get right. He is going to have to keep, getting minutes, I think, to get in better game shape. But look, right now, Huck Porty's outplaying him. I'm going with Huck Porty over Yabusele. Look how we won today, guys. We matched that physicality. We roughed up Orlando, and we punched them blow for blow. We weren't going to get punked. You saw OG push Desmond Bain, man. He did not appreciate that. Huck Porty playing to the final whistle against Franz Wagner as well. We ain't no dirty players out here. We just play tough. Chris, no update on Deuce outside of the X-rays come back negative, which is a positive. However, MRI coming up in the morning. So MRI, man, prayers up tonight because we can't afford to miss out on Deuce with the way that he's shooting the ball. But good thing is Landry Shamet, I don't think it's going to be too far away. Then he's a rehab demon. No sling, no surgery. I think Landry Shamet's going to be back in January, potentially. Yeah, we look so different with OG Anunoby, fam. That steal on Anthony Black when he got into that passing lane and played the gap. And also Josh Hart stealing the cookies of Anthony Black too. Huck Porty against France is all love too. People don't realize they're German national comrades. With that, yeah, it was a super close call. What are your thoughts without Cat today, man? Look, honestly, we do defend better. We rotate sharper and quicker. Without Karl Anthony Towns, we are a bit more clean on our defensive rotations, right? But obviously, offensively, we are going to need Cat in the big moments in the playoffs too. Ariel, salute. We're buzzing. Michael Dollar, salute. Happy holidays to everyone. Hope you are well. And yeah, look, I think we've adapted a little bit of Boston's offense with the three-point shooting. We still have that grittiness of the Tibbs kind of DNA. Like, we don't have Tibbs, but I don't think the tough DNA of this team disappeared just because Tibbs left. Right? Tibbs was able to squeeze that New York grit out of the team and set the table for 5 straight seasons. But I do think with the core here, the Villanova guys as well, Mitchell Robinson, that grit, Deuce McBride, Landry Shamet, Huck Porty, look, Kolek's playing more gritty as well. We do have that DNA, and it did not leave just because of Tibbs. But I do think Mike Brown's bringing in, a little bit of that, Indiana, Boston offense that can blow teams away. So we're combining the best of, a high-powered offense and also that grittiness that we also displayed, last season. Yeah, if anything, I'm happy that the Knicks sat Cat. Yeah, important game. Next one coming up. Also, it just gives us a different look. We were able to, to see this team function, without Karl Anthony Towns. But I think Cat will come good in the playoffs too. He understands the stakes. He's got to cut down on those boneheaded, offensive fouls, just bailing the other team out too. Yep. Big shout out to our medical staff. Big shout out to you as well. Great comment. The ball moves a lot more without Cat, says Johnny Chiba. Yeah, no doubt we can play a lot faster, fam. When Cat is out of the play, and we all know what I'm talking about, when he falls down and he misses a layup or he's out of control, that does hurt us on the other side, fam. And look, I do think that the half-court game is better suited to Cat, especially bully ball. Don't forget the first game where we bullied Boston, and he was down low on the block, punishing those wings as well. When he's out there trailing, and we're definitely vulnerable in transition too. But yeah, look, the big update with Giannis, fam, it's definitely going to start to really pop off in the next few days, right, with this latest report. But look, yeah, the general consensus around the league, as Michael says in the super chat, once again, appreciate y'all for the contribution. You want Giannis, or you don't mind Giannis on the team, but would love him after this season, right? Let's get to the finals and give it a shot this season, right? I do think we have a shot against Oklahoma, man. I said this last stream, guys. Indiana were arguably second best against us, and they took in OKC to 7. Michael says, remember that Mike Brown time in Golden State. He really values the third quarters back in his time with the Warriors. Third quarters are an opportunity to close the game down. Yeah, look, his rotations have been better than Tibbs, 100%. His game management has been better. Not to say that it's been perfect. Yeah, he took a risk today, taking Brunson out of the game. But look, better, long-term play, avoiding injuries and all of that. Unfortunately, the bench couldn't close it out. But I think it was a smart move from Mike Brown. But also, let's give shout out to his staff as well, because he's really leaning on them. Personification says, what adjustments do you think the Knicks can make in the second quarter? They tend to take the foot off the pedal in that second quarter. I think defensively, look, offensively, we can light it up at any minute and get hot. What I'm seeing in our lapses is we're giving up too many easy looks. We need to clean up the 3-point, variance with the other team's looks, open looks. I think Orlando missed a ton of open looks in that third quarter. So the Knicks won the first quarter, the third quarter today. They lost the fourth quarter very narrowly, 24-27. But the second quarter, like you said, Orlando started to get back into it. But yeah, teams want to really, put up shots quickly against the Knicks. We have to do better at, disrupting the ball and closing the gaps as well. All the things that OG and Deuce McBride are great at as well, fighting over screens too. Like Mark says as well, salute Daniel Berry, salute. Another thing is, our bench. Clarkson, 0 points today, man, a donut. He's a little bit out of control with the jumper as well, leaning forward, bit out of control. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Quickly's shot, leaning forward as well. Mikal Bridges does lean a little bit too. Those guys are just got to go straight up. But I do like, Clarkson when he attacks the rack. He's got to be in attack mode. He can get to the foul line as well. But I never thought Clarkson was a great 3-point shooter coming in. Now, he's a good scorer, but he's a versatile scorer. But he does his damage in the mid-range as well. I don't like those pull-up threes from Clarkson too much. I like the corner threes. Jose says OKC got 3-point shooters. CT, we need to be able to lock down the perimeter. Yeah, 3 heavy facing them. Definitely, man, 100%. Is that the reason why we haven't seen the double big a lot, Remember last playoffs, everyone was crying out that was our weapon, the double big lineup with Mitch, with Cat. Yeah, I think that's a thing of the past right now. I don't think Mike Brown, with the pace that he wants to play at, with the 3-point shooting, the paint sprays, I don't think that Mike Brown wants to play the double big lineups no longer. We see Mitch coming off the bench as well now. Look, our best shot was probably with Yarbrough and Cat, but that's a super offensive lineup. Ches V, salute. Everyone else in the building, salute. Great to see you. Giannis, look, he wants the Knicks. It's no shock to anyone right now. This thing is real. I do think some teams are really going to give it a shot with the package, but Leon Rose might just sit tight. You know, he's got that trump card right now, and that is the New York City fan base, the Mecca, and the team. You know, it's functioning well. And do you want to shake that up in season? Right, it's risky. Cat, let's see if he gets back next game, right? Let's win this NBA Cup. Let's beat the Raptors. Next one, let's get to the semifinals where we will face the winner of the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic. Put in the chat, who do you think is going to win the other quarterfinal between the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic too? That's going to be a bloodbath. I do think probably the Miami Heat are going to get through that one now that Franz is out. And look, once again, I want to send my prayers to Franz Wagner. You hate to see any player suffer an injury that might be serious, but it was not a dirty play by any stretch. It was a Huck Porty, serious contest. And Wendell Carter, like I said, he took out Landry Shamet as well. CC salute, slow runner salute, says Knicks won't make a trade until the summer. It doesn't make sense now. You're right. The way we're, surging 3 straight, 13-1 at home. We kind of just defeated the team that, people think might give us some problems. We beat the Magic. That's cool. Let Giannis sit tight. Just tell him, mate, we want Giannis. I want Giannis. Don't get me twisted. But just tell him to sit tight. Tell him to sit tight and see how this thing plays out. Yeah. Yuval Fax says, I really don't want to trade one of our wings. Me neither, fam. Mikal and OG are playing great. Josh Hart included. Shout out to Josh Hart, man. I thought he was phenomenal today in the mid-range. Right, he was an assassin, and he kept the score ticking up, especially in the third. When he was going bucket for bucket against Anthony Black. Look, the best case for a Giannis trade in season is OKC. Right, if you're worried about OKC, then going to get Giannis. I understand if Leon Rose ultimately, goes for it, especially with the new buzz, the latest report coming through tonight, But arguably our biggest need is the bench, fam. Even if you are going to get Giannis, you got to address the bench. Clarkson, we need Shamet back. I think Shamet's arguably our 8th guy, our best 8th guy. Jose says losing Franz is really going to hurt Orlando. He's been their best player. I think the hype on Paolo Banchero was a little bit early on that, fam. Paolo's going to be a great player, but yeah, he needs to develop that jump shot, just like Cade, too. I think this season might be a season too soon for Cade as well. He's dynamic getting to the rack, but the 3-point shot, I do think Detroit going to miss Malik Beasley. Report today, Malik Beasley is going to return to action playing for Europe, Partizan in Belgrade, Serbia, too. So I think he got a ban in the NBA, but he's returning to the Euro League. Malik Beasley. Mark says, what do you think we had to offer the Bucks? Yeah, so Ian Begley reported that we did make an offer, and I do think it was probably Karl Anthony Towns and salary filler. And that's why I think the Bucks weren't. That's why I think it didn't go anywhere. I don't think Leon Rose offered OG and Cat in the summer. That's why I think it didn't go nowhere. I think if Leon Rose offered Cat and OG in the summer, I think that deal might have got done. Another report suggests that Giannis told a teammate that he thought the deal was close in the summer as well. Leon Rose, man, he's a poker player. I don't think he's going to come with the best offer first up. That's why the deal didn't get done. Yeah, the Rockets could be likely. I do think Pat Riley's going to get desperate. Pat Riley's going to go for it too. I think Atlanta versus the Heat, they could put together a compelling package with Trae Young or Porzingis or, Khalil Ware and Andrew Wiggins, Tyler Hero. I mean, look, not great packages. If I'm the Bucks, that doesn't wow me. Honestly, probably the Rockets can wow me. If the Rockets want to put in Tari Eason and Alfred Şengün, man, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I don't think anyone can beat the Rockets package, maybe outside of OKC or the Spurs. If I'm being honest, if I'm the Bucks, man, what better way to rebuild with Alfred Şengün and Tari Eason? You still get to keep Kevin Durant and Amen Thompson. Johnny Chiba says heart rebounds like David Lee. Yeah, and tenacity like Spree. I actually thought OG looked like Spreewell tonight, fam. Number 8. And that two-hand throwdown took me way back to Spreewell. Yeah, look, Dallas could put together a nice trade, but I don't think enough for Giannis. But I do think Dallas is going to make a move as well. They got Kyrie Irving, Clay, and obviously Cooper. Johnny Chiba, CT, if we had to lose one of 2 Wingstop in the Greek deal, who are you keeping? Look, man, it's tough. My head says OG. You got to keep OG. But obviously my heart says that Leon's not going to trade Macau. That's all I can say, fam. My heart says keep both. And that's why Leon didn't offer, either in the deal. It was cat and salary filler in the summer. But if I had to give you a realistic possibility, I do think it's probably going to be OG. I do think it would be OG and cat if the Bucks accept the deal. I do think Bridges is staying, right? Obviously, he's so close to Josh Hart and JB. Like David says, it has to be a multi-team trade. Definitely. But look, be prepared for a major shakeup. We might have to take on some serious salary, when it comes to Kyle Kuzma. Maybe we do have to take on Bobby Portis, man. Crazy eye, Bobby Portis. Maybe we have to take on Miles Turner. We've got to wait and see. But yeah, it is going to be a massive trade. Definitely. It could be a 4-5 team trade. If Trae Young's going to a team, maybe Anthony Davis comes to the Knicks somewhere else. Miles Turner might be going somewhere else. This thing could go all the way to the deadline. Damn. Buzzer beater in the house. Salute. CC says Hart's playing great. On D, he has to improve on the rotations of the pick and roll. Yeah, what y'all know most of our weaknesses, fighting over the picks. I think there's a couple of guys that are great at it. OG, Deuce McBride. The rest of the guys, man, as much as I love their effort, they're not great at getting around the screen. Switching might be the best option, but the drop coverage, man, I do like Huck Porty in the drop, much better than Cat. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson's a lot better in the drop as well. Yeah, it's a good headache to have 3 competent big men to play the 5 spot. I never believed Yabusele was going to be viable for the 5 spot. Yabu could be gone in a trade too. A salary filler as well, fam. But yeah, to address our bench, my best case scenario, I think, is going to be a buyout guy. It could be a guy like Chris Middleton get bought out. He might sacrifice some salary to ask Washington to cut him, just like Bradley Beal did. Colin Sexton might get bought out. If the Charlotte Hornets, want to enter full tank mode. What's going to happen in Brooklyn? Look, Cam Thomas. Look, Brooklyn's not really winning many games either as well. I do think Lauri Markkanen, Danny Ainge, guys, asleep at the wheel. Still hasn't made a major trade. Now, he He hasn't traded Walker Kessler yet. Walker Kessler got injured too, so he hurt his chance, I think, getting a major package. Yeah, Huck Porty's coming on well, especially defensively. Shout out to the free throws. Buzzer says if we keep winning, the next 4 teams behind us are only 2.5 games back. We have to keep winning, says Buzzer Beater. Yeah, look, the East is like, it's a absolute logjam, you know. Teams could slide real quick. I think we sent Orlando back down to 6 too. Yarl Fax says, what do you think the Knicks should pick up? I think a wing. Fam. I think point guard we're okay. Tyler Kolek, man. Just ride him till the wheels fall off. Rock out with TKO right now. You got Deuce. You know, I think Macau's handling the rock hard. I think we're okay with the point guard situation right now. Look, I would make a tweak with Pacome Dardier, bring in Dink Pate. You know, Kevin McCullough or Dink Pate. Bring them into the real spot or the two-way for Dink Pate. Maybe you move on from Pacome Dardier, and then you can sign a buyout guy like Chris Middleton, like a wing. Yep, absolutely. We're buzzing with the streets, Buzzer Beater. Coming to y'all from the road. Appreciate y'all rocking with us tonight. Really pleased with tonight's game earlier today. You know, taking care of business at home. But not only that, we just matched the physicality of Orlando. You know, we really stepped to the plate. We stepped up. 23 minutes. Huck Porty looked like a seasoned vet out there. Yo Alpha. Okay. Yo Alpha. Appreciate it. Yep. Yeah, Slow Runner says Pate is the perfect fit for the Knicks with McCullough. Des Main and Ant Black getting past Mitch for easy rotation baskets. Not good. Yeah, you know, the up-tempo pace is tricky. Desmond Bain, he was getting loose with the size. Look, foul trouble, that's going to be tricky in the playoffs, you know, and how they officiate. Because y'all know they switch it up from game to game. But I do like the discipline defense of Puck Porty today, you know. He's really got that verticality down pat as well. Yeah, let's not gloss over Tyler. Let's give him his flowers. I think he's the reason why I don't think we need a backup point guard in a crazy way. Now, I would still, you know, if there's a couple of spots available, I would go for like a Javon Carter or, you know, Jose Alvarado, TJ McConnell even, if he got waived. Imagine if Tyler Kolek could learn under TJ McConnell for a postseason. That would be cool. But, yeah, you know, like Yo Alpha said, you know, and like I said to your question, why I think a wing is more important than a point guard is size. As much as a point guard would be, you know, a positive impact on this team with the dribbling, the playmaking, we just need more size, fam. Right? You could bring in an elite point guard. That's not going to cure our defensive issues. You know, we need more size on the perimeter and another wing. You know, OG and Shamet, obviously he's going to swing the needle. But, you know, if we can get another guy, big time. I mean, I was low-key hoping on Yabusele being able to guard the 3s, 4s. But so far, he's just been a bust for the Knicks. Now, I'm not giving up on Yabu, but if he ain't right by the trade deadline, I would move Yabu. Because roster spots are going to be very valuable, fam. We need to be able to trust 1 through 11, 1 through 10 in the playoffs, I think. The pace is going to be crazy. Teams are going to try to run us out of the gym. I think if we look at like Boston, for example, let's say Boston make the playoffs, Tatum comes back. They're going to try to run like, you know, Indiana did last season. Orlando is just going to try to run. You know, a lot of these teams can't match us. So we do need to be positive defensively, you know, in transition. Like Jose G says, yeah, we need athletic wings. with the size. Look, Dink Pate, 6'8". He might have just fallen in our lap. McCullough, I would give him a shot too. Nostalgic Knicks, salute. Yep. Giannis to the Knicks. It's growing increasingly likely. Chances are he's using his leverage, feeding through the back channels. And look, these reports don't just drop from Jake Fisher and that. It's agents talking in people's ears. It's executives hearing things from other teams, fam. Now, the more apprehensive these other teams are of giving up a package, that means they know the writing's on the wall, man. He wants New York. He wants New York. And if another team wants to trump our deal with a bigger package, then it's just going to be a rental. They're going to use up all their assets too. Now, in the summer, our asset chest is going to grow because we're going to have another first-round draft pick that we can move. Younger players like Colex looking like a trade nugget in a deal. A guy like a Pacome Dardier, possibly too. Violent Knicks culture says we're not using Yabu right. He's a stretch 4, but he's not a spot-up shooter. He's more effective off the pick and post up, facing towards the basket in the pinch post. Yeah, that's a fair point. I haven't given up. I'm not Yabu out. I'm just feeling like he just hasn't matched my expectations. And maybe we aren't using him to his best strength. I do think, though, he's trying his best. He's rebounding. He's getting spot minutes. I was just thinking that he was going to be like a 25, 30-minute-a-night guy. I was thinking that Yabusele was going to close games out based on what I saw with Philadelphia. But look, it's a learning lesson as well, guys. It just goes to show that you could look at Yabu with Philly last season and it ain't all it's cracked up to be when you see a player play well on a losing team. How many players do we see ball out at the end of a season on a losing team and you think, man, that guy's looking great. And then he goes to another team and it ain't the same. It ain't the same too. I do think we just got to bolster our defensive stocks. I don't really feel like we need a single offensive upgrade. Man, not to say that I wouldn't welcome a sniper or, a great point guard, but, our issues are defensive. That's it. Get me Tari Eason, fam. Now, and I know y'all are out there. Anyone who's not on the Giannis situation, I get it. It's a lot. It's a lot of chefs in the kitchen. But if there's one move that's not a superstar move that would make us one of the favorites to win the championship, it would be getting a guy like a Tari Eason, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. If you put Herb Jones or Trey Murphy with Mikal Bridges, with OG Anunoby, that's the jumbo wing stop. All you can eat. That could close down Oklahoma. Yeah. Three-headed monster. You need to be able to shut down, SGA. You need to be able to shut down, Jalen Williams. That could be the best chance that the Knicks could beat Oklahoma City. It might not be offense. Fam. I know everyone wants to talk about JB. He's too small. He can't be the best player on a championship team. Well, if there's defenders around him and, an offensive player like Cat with defenders around, that could be enough. That could be enough. And that's why I'm pro Giannis move. You got to get Giannis because if it's possible without gutting the team, because, man, 6'11", chase down blocks, he's going to give it all. He's going to lay out his soul on the line to get a chip. You saw that chase down block in the finals against Phoenix. Imagine him doing that at Madison Square Garden playing for the Knicks in Game 7. He hates Tyrese Halliburton as well. He wants to go at, he wants to beat everyone out east. He's a true competitor as Giannis as well. He's built different. They don't make many players like him no more. And whilst, he's becoming less durable, so that is something to be concerned about. But As long as we have really good depth, we don't have to exhaust him, I think, throughout the regular season. Johnny Chibas says, I'd welcome an aggressive player like Cam Whitmore, Herb Jones. Yeah, I would love a guy like AJ Mitchell, Terran Shannon. We missed out on those guys in the draft too. We could have picked up Josh Minot. He would have been a great wing. Ayo Dosunmu out there, salute. He could be a nice pickup. I think he's only on $7 million as a free agent. We could package Yabu and someone else if Chicago don't want to lose Ayo on the free. Don't forget, Chicago is probably going to be a play-in. Look out for the Kobe White situation too. I think he might get moved. Bulls are building around Josh Giddey, but also Kobe White, CAA. He's with CAA. Yeah, I did see that. I saw Giannis Thanasis chatting with Brunson. Yep. Yeah, we showed that on the post game as well, fam. Look, there's a lot of love and respect. We gave Thanasis his NBA dream. We drafted him into the league under Phil Jackson. Look, Phil Jackson was a dinosaur in a way, but the Porzingis move, he was able to see the vision with him. And he was understanding the Giannis situation by drafting Thanasis. Mark says, imagine getting Giannis and keeping Towns. I don't think that's possible, fam, unless we're giving up OG and Macau. Probably OG, Macau, Deuce. Brunson's not going to go in any deal, fam. Johnny Chiba says, CT, I would keep Bridges over OG in the trade because Greek's defense will take OG's place. Yeah, that's fair. Look, OG catch and shoot three, I think, is a little bit more reliable than Macau's. Macau's better on the pull-up. But yeah, I think OG with the size, look, yeah, power forward spot, Giannis would take that spot. I think OG's, the tires on his, the tread on his tires are wearing thin as he gets older. There's OG. And yeah, I would take the durability over Bridges, but I would hate to lose OG. Yeah, Simon says, I love Kobe White. Yeah, look, Kobe White's an assassin. You can pull up. His defense isn't great, but offensively, yeah, he would be a dynamic, backcourt partner for Brunson as well. You could shift Macau to the three, but with Hart here, maybe that boat sailed with Kobe White. I do think obviously Hart's here for the long stay now. The entire offense would change as slow runner. If we lose OG and Cat, we would need more shooting. Yeah, the front office has got names on their list. They'll probably look at other guys. Malik Beasley might get cleared of that, that off-season issue, off-court issue, and, he might be had. Some buyout guys as well. Look, every season a championship contender usually gets a couple of buyout guys. Look at those LeBron teams. They used to pick up, Kevin Love on a buyout. They used to pick up, J.R. Smith and Shump for loose change as well. Now's our time to pick up a couple of bargains, fam. Now, obviously, there's durability concerns, but if we picked up a Chris Middleton and he could give us 20 minutes a night off the bench, man, that's crazy. As a free agent buyout guy, he could come in and guard up a little bit. Let's see. I know there's a couple of guys out in Dallas, fam. Najee Marshall, recently was connected to the Knicks. Najee Marshall, a guy who could guard threes and fours, definitely, I think is what we need. Glenn Jones, salute, appreciate y'all, man, checking in with us. Even when you're not chatting, you're catching the lives. Love our offense, but our defense so suspect. Help. So there's a bit of push and pull, right? When you want to play fast and you want to have a dynamic offense, I do think you got to sacrifice some of the defense. I think it's tricky to be an all-out, fast-paced offense, but also be an elite defense. I think elite defense usually comes in the half court, but Cat, we mentioned, he's slow getting back, falls to the ground. Our best chance is probably to play small and fight over the picks. Deuce McBride, Hart, obviously can get out on the break. But yeah, I think drop coverage, we need to avoid that. We need to either, with Cat, we need to come up on the level, hedge, fight over the pick, either or, not give up the drop coverage. And these threes, man, I could live with teams getting to the rack, getting to the foul line, because that means that we're making it difficult. We're challenging shots. But I can't live with teams just pulling up for an open three. That's going to kill us, fam. I would give Boston a puncher's chance to beat us if they can get hot. And that's what we don't want. We don't want Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, these guys, Doogie Howser getting hot. Even Jaylen Brown, man. That made me sick, that Boston game. Yeah, something close to pay attention today. No, Cat, our defense was a lot sharper and connected too. But that's up to Mike Brown, to tell him to either come up on the level, don't drop, sprinkle in some of that zone against poor shooting teams. I think Orlando missed their chance, man. They missed so many open looks from downtown in this one. They kind of let us off the hook in the third quarter. Yeah, look, optics is a major thing with Bridges. 5 first-round picks. We need to keep him, I think, for Leon Rose, obviously, for the optics as well. Yeah, transition D needs work, allowing those threes. I see you. Yeah, look, we don't really need a blockbuster trade, I think. We're right there. We need a couple of depth pieces. Monitor the buyout market. Maybe flip Yabusele for another guy. Maybe flip Pacome Dardier for a veteran point guard, just in case Cole can't hold up. And we're ready to go. We're ready to go. Let Giannis sit back and watch with some popcorn and get ready for next season, I think, for him, right? But we'll see what the Bucks want to do. Now, the Bucks don't own their pick, right? So it behooves them to tank. So they might either try to look for a trade where they can get back into the draft and really push the reset button this season, or they're going to try to stay competitive, maybe make a play-in, sell some season tickets, all of that. Now, my conspiracy theory, guys, is one of the reasons Giannis started the season with the Bucks and why the Bucks just weren't too aggressive. Look, this is a business, fam. This is a money-making business. If they sold Giannis in the summer, what do you think is going to happen with the loyal Bucks fan base? They're not going to sell those season tickets, right? So you start the season with Giannis, you make a couple of Band-Aid moves with Miles Turner, you buy out Dame, and you pretend like you're going to go for it. You sell those season tickets, you wait for the season to start, and then you rip the Band-Aid off, man. You get back into the draft. You got to get back into the draft, I think, if you're the Bucks. So I think that's the long-term play for the Bucks. I don't see them staying competitive, but they got to get those draft picks too. The Knicks can offer a lot of swaps. Probably the most appealing one would be 2032. That is a long way away. Brunson will be well past his prime, so will Giannis, so will Cat. 2032 pick swap could be like having a top lottery pick. I wouldn't bet on it, the Knicks being bad, but an injury, you never know. The East getting better. That 2029, 2032 pick swap could be enticing for Milwaukee too. Yeah, Marcus Smart, he's getting plenty of time, I think, with the Lakers. Gabe Vincent is healthy now too. Yeah, look, Jose Alvarado, I think, would be a smart pickup too. Try to get a Najee Marshall. There is a team that's probably going to look for a big power forward, and you might get some value for Yabusele. We might be able to swap a wing out, or Yabu comes good. Like I said, I'm not giving up on Yabu yet, but you got to see how you can improve this roster, fam, too. We have a real shot. Like, since 1992 and 93, this is our best chance at getting that chip. We have to tick all the boxes, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and make sure that we're ready for the playoffs, fam. Yeah, Brian Salute says, how about our guy, Huck? He was big time today in 23 minutes. 6.7 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 4 of 4 from the free throw line as well. He looked confident stepping to the line. He did not even hit iron. So it's great to see him work on those free throws because he was struggling last season with the free throws, fam. Look, we're a great offense in transition as well. Giannis on this team in transition, it's a wrap, especially if we can keep Cat. But I think that's probably very unlikely. What's the feel on Deuce McBride, fam? A lot of people feel like he's priced out of our range with the way that he's playing. I did promise I'm going to do a live stream looking at the Knicks contracts. For y'all that don't know, Josh Hart's player option season comes at the end of next season when Deuce McBride hits a free agent. So if Josh Hart is 32, 33, he's willing to make a sacrifice and opt out. Actually, no, sorry, it's a team option. I think it might be a team option. So if the club feel like, okay, Hart, we'll decline your team option, we'll bring you back on a longer term deal, but at a lower number, and we'll use that money on Deuce McBride. That could be a way to pay Deuce McBride and keep Josh Hart. But obviously 2027 is a little whiles away to figure that out. Danny Landers, salute. Do you think we'll definitely get Giannis somehow? We will. I think we will. I think we will get Giannis. I do think it's definitely very likely. Now, this season, not as likely as the summer, but, it's tough to say right now. I still think, he has to have that conversation with the Bucks if he hasn't already. And then Leon Rose has to come forward with his best offer. And he did not do that in the summer. And that's why the deal didn't progress, fam. I don't think he put Cat and OG on the table. I think he put Cat and some other salary fillers and all the pick swaps and all of that. And the Knicks just thought, okay, let's see if Milwaukee can buy it. But one of the pros of waiting is, some of our players' value might increase. A player like Kolek is a rotation player now. Huck Porty. These players could be throw-ins to help facilitate the deal. Brian says Cat, McBride, Dardier, and picks. That could be possible. I would do that, I would hate to lose Deuce, but he would have to be a sacrificial lamb, because if you could keep Wingstop, that would be a game changer. If you could keep both. I love Deuce. He's just undersized right now, and the league needs size for these teams out west. Fam, we need some Broadway bullies going up against the Rockets, the Magic, the Heat, OKC, the Lakers as well. Yeah, Johnny Chiba agrees. Deuce, maybe Deuce in that trade. He's due mega bucks. Too. Absolutely. He's with a TV deal. You look at salaries like Emmanuel Quickly getting 30 mil, fam. What was Malik Beasley going to get before, the FBI situation, popped off? Malik Beasley was going to get like 16. Deuce McBride at least is deserving of 15 to 20. Minimum 15 to 20 right now, coming into his prime. Once again, shout out Leon Rose, man. We got one more year of Deuce McBride on a steal, 3.9 million for next season. Yeah, great point, Mark. We might have to do a package agreement and take on all the Giannis brothers too. Right. I would put them on the two-way if they're eligible. I don't think Thanasis is eligible. But look, maybe those guys could just be as part of the G League squad. um, yeah, look, draft night is the most likely because the Knicks can open up an extra pick. The NBA is more open for business on draft night, and the Bucks could get the player that they might want, and the Knicks can select with their upcoming pick. This season, the Bucks don't have their pick, so if they do trade Giannis in season, what does the rest of the season mean to them? They've got still a couple of veterans on their roster right now. They might need to send Kuzma packing, Bobby Portis. I would take Cole Anthony, but actually I got to look at his salary. I think Cole Anthony's salary is a bit too much. I think actually Cole Anthony got bought out already. So, yeah, let's see what Tyler Kolek can do for the rest of the season, fam. Really like what I'm seeing from Kolek. If the three-point shooting can get to, or can improve like we saw with Deuce's improvement from downtown, I think Kolek could be the real deal. I think he just needs a three-point shot. I don't think the defense is ever going to be, a game changer, but I think if Kolek can shoot the three ball, he'll be in the NBA for 10 years. Yeah, if Deuce goes out, Dink Pate comes in, donuts. Johnny Chiba, salute. I'm surprised, a team should come in for Dink Pate real soon because the way that he is playing with the Westchester Knicks and the hype he was coming up in the draft is big time. I do think Dink Pate's got the size, the skill set. He's knocking down threes as well. But I do like McCullough too. So, yeah, my big prediction is obviously Pacome Dardier. He's not getting minutes. I think the writing is on the wall for Pacome. He's going to be salary filler in a big move or a small move for a depth piece to free up some room, fam, for another buyout. Now, we've got the CAA connections. We've got William Wesley. I mean, if y'all don't think the Knicks know what Giannis is thinking, you should know because back channels, William Wesley, talk to agents. We know what Giannis wants, what he's thinking right now. The reporters do. And we also probably know of a couple of buyout guys that would be interested if they get bought out from their situations too. So I think the Knicks have got a lot of improvement on the court, off the court we can make. But yeah, it's good to see us, start the season so hot. And obviously now closing in on the top seed. Now, I'm a little surprised about Cleveland. As much as I give respect to Detroit, Orlando, Miami, the story for me is Cleveland just not been too impressive so far. Have they regressed? Have they taken a step back? Was last season Cleveland's best chance? It might be. Donovan Mitchell's not getting any younger, fam. He's not a two-way player. That's one of the reasons why Leon Rose, didn't break the bank for a guy like Donovan Mitchell. We'd have to trade the farm for Donovan Mitchell. We're able to get Jalen Brunson on the free. Mark says, do you think we'll see Giannis in a Bucks uniform again this season? 50-50. I'd say 50-50 right now. He's out with the calf strain. That could keep him out 3-4 weeks. The NBA trade period is going to be well and truly open in the next week. So, yeah, look out for that, fam. Teams are going to start to get way more aggressive, especially with the Bucks losing to top seed by the end of Jan. I like that. We just got to stay healthy, first and foremost. But the plan for the regular season was also to experiment, try some players that, might not have fit in the rotation earlier in the season. Kolek, Hakporty, and prepare for the postseason, and see what comes. Fortunately, we haven't lost Shamet. He's going to come back. And Deuce McBride has been phenomenal this season. He's taken another leap forward. Josh Hart has come back as well. Unfortunately, Mitchell Robinson hasn't started the season like he finished last season, but I think he can still get right. I do think Mitch's situation is more serious than the club and fans realize. What the club is letting out, and maybe the fans realize. Don't forget they haven't ramped Mitch's minutes up fully. They really want to manage his minutes because I think his health situation, it's just tricky. I don't think they're going to come out and say it, but I do think Mitchell Robinson is really dealing with minutes load restriction where he's not going to be playing 30 plus, maybe not even in the playoffs. He just ain't moving that well. Now, he's still impactful, still one of the best rebounders. Yeah, if Bucks keep losing, Giannis won't even want to come back, man. He's already checked out, man. His head's elsewhere. I do think Giannis. And look, is this thing further advanced than people think? I think so. It could be. Don't forget, Giannis was seen walking around New York City for the last 2 summers. Not just last summer, but the one before. Giannis is seen in New York City in the summer as well, vibing with his wife and family. They love the international culture, the flavor of New York City coming from Greece as well, the melting pot as well. The Greek community is big time as well. He'd be treated like a god as well. And so I do think Giannis has been looking at the Knicks for a while now. And I do think there's been dialogue, there's been conversations, and the rest of the league now know, especially with today's report, Jake Fisher, that he has the Knicks as his preference above all else as well. So that's great to hear. Great reacting to this win. Really hyped to see the Knicks beat Orlando. Prayers up to Franz Wagner. It was just a unfortunate, circumstance from a competitive game. We suffered Deuce McBride going down as well. But I think hopefully neither injury is serious and both can get back real quick. Orlando just got Paolo back as well. So, look, next up, NBA Cup quarterfinals. We're coming. The streets are buzzing, fam. Everyone have a great night. Stay blessed. And we'll be back post-game for the NBA Cup quarterfinals as the Knicks head to Toronto, fam. Hoping to get that $100,000 as well and continue this momentum and make it 4 straight. Everyone, peace, blessings, and I appreciate everyone for the buzz tonight and the super chat coming through earlier today from my guy, Michael, in the building. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.